GLM-5V Turbo Vision plus Google Gemini is insane. You're using AI wrong. You're picking one tool and hoping it does everything. It doesn't. And that gap between what AI can do and what you're actually getting out of it, that's the problem. But what if you stopped using one AI and started using two together as a system? That's what this video is about. And by the end, you'll have a workflow you can actually use today. Today, I want to show you something that genuinely surprised me. It's a two-model setup. Google Gemini handles the deep thinking. GLM-5V Turbo handles the execution. Together, they work like an AI operating system. I'm going to break down exactly what each model does, why they work so well together, and two full workflow examples you can copy right now. Stay with me because the second example, content creation, is the one most people sleep on. Let me start with the models themselves. GLM-5V Turbo is built by ZI. It's their first multimodal coding foundation model, which is a fancy way of saying it can see and act. It processes images, video, text, and files. And it's built specifically for agent workflows, meaning it's designed to do things, not just answer questions. Has a 200,000 token context window and supports up to 128,000 output tokens. That's a massive amount of working memory. It can hold a full project in context and keep executing without losing track. What makes it really different is what it can do with visual input. You can show it a screenshot of a website and it will rebuild the code from scratch. You can give it a design mockup and it generates a working front end. It understands layout, color, components, and interaction logic, all from an image. It also connects to MCP tools, supports function calling, structured output, and streaming. So it fits into workflows. It doesn't just respond, executes. On the other side, Google Gemini, specifically Gemini 2.5 Pro. Gemini 2.5 Pro is Google's most advanced reasoning model. It has a 1 million token context window. That's not a typo. Million. That means you can feed it entire code repositories, multiple long documents, hours of research, and it processes all of it. It ranked #1 on the LM Arena leaderboard when it launched. It scored 86.7% on the AMY 2025 math benchmark and 84% on the GPQ8 science benchmark. It's also ranked #1 on the Web Dev Arena leaderboard for building web apps. These are verified benchmark results from Google. Here's the thing most people miss. Gemini 2.5 Pro has a thinking mode. It reasons through problems before it gives you an answer. It makes it exceptional at planning, strategy, and complex research tasks. So now you have two models. One that thinks deeply, one that sees and executes. What happens when you combine them? This is where it gets interesting. The setup is simple. Gemini is your thinking layer. GLM-5V Turbo is your execution engine. Gemini handles the questions that need deep reasoning, strategy, research, planning. GLM-5V Turbo handles the output, building, creating, executing, turning screenshots into code, each one doing what it's built for. Let me show you what that looks like in practice. Flow 1, community growth. Say you're trying to grow an online community. You want to understand what content works, what your audience needs, and how to show up consistently. Start with Gemini. You feed it your community data, post history, engagement patterns, topic performance, member feedback. A massive context window means it holds all of it at once without losing detail. You ask it to analyze what's working, topics get the most engagement, what gaps exist, what kind of content keeps people coming back. Gemini reasons through all of it. It gives you a structured breakdown, not just a list, actual analysis with context. Which content pillars are strong, which ones are underperforming, where the opportunity is. You have a real strategy. Then you bring in GLM-5V Turbo. You take that strategy and hand it to GLM-5V Turbo as a task. Create the content calendar, draft the post, narrate the visuals based on reference screenshots. If you've got a design you like, show it to GLM-5V Turbo and it rebuilds the format in code or creates new content in the same style. GLM-5V Turbo executes fast. And because it's built for agent workflows, it can chain tasks together, not just complete one prompt at a time. Result, you went from raw community data to a full content strategy and execution plan without doing any of the heavy lifting manually. Speaking of heavy lifting, I want to pause here for a second. When I first started building AI workflows, I was overwhelmed. There were too many tools, too many options. I kept experimenting, but I didn't have a clear system. That's when I created a community called AI Profit Boardroom. For over 2,000 members, all focused on learning AI together and sharing what actually works. It taught me which workflows save time versus which ones waste it. The community shares real use cases and practical implementations. If you're serious about using AI to improve your work and skills, check it out. Link in the description. Back to it. Because the second workflow example is where this setup really shines. Flow 2, content creation. This one is for anyone who makes videos, writes articles, posts on social media, or creates any kind of content consistently. Here's the problem with content creation at scale. Consistency is hard. Searching takes time. Writing takes time. Formatting takes time. And if you're doing all of this manually, you're going to run out of energy fast. Here's how the two-model stack solves it. Step 1, feed Gemini your content brief. Topic, audience, goals, past content if you have it. Ask it to map out a full content strategy, not just here are some ideas, but a real breakdown of topics, angles, formats, and what each piece should achieve. Step 2, take Gemini's output and move into GLM-5V Turbo. GLM-5V Turbo starts producing, writes the scripts, drafts the article outlines, And here's the part that's genuinely different, because GLM-5V Turbo can see you can give it a screenshot of your existing website, your existing content format, your brand design, and it matches it. Exactly. You show it a thumbnail style you want to replicate. It gives you the code to recreate it. You show it a post format that performed well. It generates new posts in that exact same structure. This is what most people aren't using yet. The visual understanding combined with the execution speed means you're not just generating content, you're generating content that already fits your brand without manually adjusting every single output. Step 3 is GLM-5V Turbo's document grounded writing feature. You can give it your research documents, PDFs, reference files, and it writes from them. The output stays anchored to your actual source material. Generic, not made up, grounded in what you gave it. For a content creator, this means you can take your own notes, your research, your outlines, hand them to GLM-5V Turbo, and get back solid drafts built on your real material. Now let me talk about how to actually set this up. You don't need to be a developer. You don't need to write complex code to start. GLM-5V Turbo is accessible through the ZAI platform at ZAI. You get an API key, access the model, and it's compatible with the OpenAI SDK format, so if you've used that before, the setup is familiar. Gemini 2.5 Pro is available through Google AI Studio and the Gemini API. If you have a Google account, you can access it right now. The workflow in practice looks like this. Open Gemini. Find your goal clearly. Feed it your research, your data, your context. Ask it to think through the strategy, your plan. 2. Take the output from Gemini. Move into GLM-5V Turbo. Give it clear execution tasks. Upload your images, screenshots, or reference files if you need the visual understanding layer. 3. Review the output. Find the prompt if needed. GLM-5V Turbo supports streaming, so you see the output as it generates, which makes iteration much faster. 4. Chain the tasks. GLM-5V Turbo is built for long chain execution. You can give it multi-step instructions, and it follows through without losing context. That's the whole system. 2 models, clear roles, each one doing what it's actually built for. Here's what people get wrong about AI tools. They try to make one tool do everything, and when it falls short, they give up or keep switching with no system behind it. Gemini thinks. GLM-5V Turbo executes. Build that into your workflow, and the difference in output and speed is hard to ignore.